Hello everyone, going over the latest BM Hunter buffs and specifically Dark Ranger BM Hunter buffs as well. As always, I'll be reading off this document that I made, and you can find this document, which will of course be more updated than this video is, in the comments below or also in the description below. Disclaimer as usual is that info is still pretty young and the errors around these statements and sims in this document remain fairly wide, or error bars I should say. And these changes do not actually become, they do not hit the game until Tuesday, September 9th. And it's only like 12 hours since all of these changes actually were announced. And so we've been scrambling to sort of put together this document and information and this video for you. But things can change, either in terms of our understanding or from Blizzard's side until Tuesday. So yeah, let's take a look on the numbers. So single target, BM Pack Leader got around a 5% buff, but the real story here is that BM Dark Ranger has been buffed massively and is now one of the highest simming specs in the entire game. And considering, BM's relative ease of play, it's not inconceivable that it's one of the strongest single target specs in the entire game, bar none at this point. It does have a similar, extremely heavy RNG profile like MM does. It's not quite as bad as MM Dark Ranger, but as you can see in the size of these error bars, it's certainly up there, probably the second most RNG spec in the entire game. But yeah, its M+ build is also very strong on bosses in Mythic Plus, actually even stronger than the BM no multi build, which is typically played specifically for single target and priority target damage in Mythic Plus. So on fights like Soul Hunters and maybe some others, it's not clear if we'll be playing Dark Ranger, because it doesn't cleave as well as a Pack Leader maybe does with Stampede and everything. So that will sort of be determined once we dial in the sims for that. That's a little bit deeper into the future, but this is how it looks for single target. Here's the AoE sim. BM Dark Ranger still lags behind quite a bit. It's even behind no multi in terms of pure AoE output. So it's not going to do the biggest overalls in Mythic Plus for the most part, but as you saw earlier, it does do quite a lot of boss damage in Mythic Plus. But I do not think that BM Dark Ranger is going to be the play for Mythic Plus going forward, but it is going to be pretty decent, as we'll see in a moment here. So this is just pure AoE, but what we're really interested in is this thing called Mythic Plus Efficiency, which is this system or methodology that I have come up with for determining with sims and stuff, and of course real life data, but trying to basically get the sims to tell us as much as possible about real life performance, for not just doing maximum overall DPS. If you just wanted to do maximum overall DPS, then you probably just pick the highest AoE spec. But looking at both single target damage, AoE damage, priority target damage, and then also using Mythic Plus dungeon sims, MDT sims as they're called, to try and get a more full picture of Mythic Plus spec performance. And this is the numbers we come up with. So the efficiency number on the right side is the general metric I use. It's based on an average of single target and the AoE performance only. But then we look at sort of the priority damage column here to see, if there's anything to know about priority target damage that could swing the tide. I often use it as a tiebreaker. And MDT sim is mostly used for sanity checking. I don't think it's a metric in and of itself for overall performance. Good for figuring out gear and so on, but for example, I see BM Dark Ranger M+ actually wins on MDT sim by a huge margin, but on the other metrics, it's a bit less efficient than no multi and way less prio, an absurd amount less priority target damage. My theory is here that no multi is actually doing a little bit too much prio for its own good in an MDT sim, which is essentially your character soloing the dungeon. That's just a hypothesis though. I have not looked into it more closely, but overall it looks like BM, obviously with the buffs, it was already played for quite a few dungeons and quite a few top keys. It got a 5% buff on top of that, so I think BM is generally speaking the king for Mythic Plus now. I still think that there are a few valid MM scenarios, especially if you're not chain pulling a lot, relatively small, let's say 4 to 7 target pulls primarily. But I think that they're becoming less and less, and as route knowledge grows and pulls become bigger and chaining becomes more common and so on, in the medium long term, I expect that BM no multi, possibly with a side of Dark Ranger, but I do think I'd stake more on no multi being the general play for Mythic Plus going forward. But I mean, all specs are quite strong in Mythic Plus right now. I mean, marksmanship is doing well on the meters. Survival can, in the right hands, do quite a bit, quite decent damage. But as you can see here, it is quite a bit behind in pretty much every relevant metric. I think survival's biggest disadvantage these days is probably its single target damage in its most valid Mythic Plus builds. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. If you want to sim these changes for yourself, you can take these SimC spell overrides and you can, let's say you want to open raid bots and you go to Top Gear, you pop in your sim just like normal, you can pop in with the new builds and whatnot. You scroll down, you expand this thing called, let's say you're going from this, custom APL and SimC options, then you take this thing called SimC expert mode, and by putting this box, and you can click the little button here, copy code, you can pop that in really anywhere, but you can pop it in here. And now you're going to be simming with the changes. And I recommend doing that if you're a BM hunter simming for gear, at least if you're not simming for something that you're doing right now, it makes sense to sim with these options in there. Thanks to Thymond, Johnny Metal, Honor, and XMap in particular on the Hunter Discord for helping dial these in. I did some of them, but I needed some help on the belt holes and Phantom Pain. There was a little bit of weird stuff with those. So yeah, thanks to those for that. Since we'll probably be playing a lot of Dark Ranger, a lot more Dark Ranger, especially in the raid going forward, I made a little mini guide in this document to... It assumes that you know the basics of BM to begin with, so it's more of a transitioner's guide. Icy Veins has the most updated like rotational details and talent builds and everything. You can see the talent build here. So that's the detailed guide if you know absolutely nothing. But if you're just coming over from Pack Leader, then hopefully this will help you a bit. So you have the talent builds here with strings. You can just import these straight in game. I'll try to keep them updated. But if not, you can count on the guide being more updated than these strings. I will do my best to update both, but yeah. And you can click these links to actually get and see the build. But you can copy them just if you don't really care what the build looks like, you just want it. For stats and gearing, it's quite a bit different than Pack Leader. Essentially, haste and crit are king in roughly that order, but as you can see, if you were to look at a Pack Leader stat plot like this, it would be like haste way above all, at least until, pretty high amounts. Dark Ranger has extremely well-balanced secondary stats in both single target, which is above, and Mythic Plus, which is MDT sim based. But, your crafts are going to be haste crit for the most part. And the BIS item sets that I found were very low mastery, little bit of versatility, like 9, 10k, and then just almost 20k across both haste and crit. So that's the general trend of things. Another thing is that the Unyielding Prism Trinket, the one, if you've been playing MM, very, very powerful MM Trinket, well, it's very good for BM Dark Ranger as well, because now it's actually kind of a 60-second burst spec that you can just macro Unyielding Prism to your Call of the Wild, or hold it if there's like an amp phase, or, BM has a little bit of execute now that Black Arrow can be used at any target below 20% HP on cooldown, so you get a little bit of execute through that. You might want to hold Prism for that. But I don't think you'll be totally awful to just macro Prism into Call of the Wild, but occasionally hold on to it for damage amps and adds and so on. In terms of rotation, it's very similar to Pack Leader. It's simpler in some cases. You don't have to worry about holding Beast of the Wrath. Well, you do want to hold Beast of the Wrath to sync it with Call of the Wild. Like, you'd hold it up to 20 seconds to make that happen, but you're not holding for any silly, dynamically changing double Stampede stuff, for example. Every time you get a Black Arrow proc, you just press it. That's literally it. It's literally just in the APL. Top prio, you get a proc, press it, GG. Spam kill command to get more Black Arrow procs. Use Barb Shot just enough to not cap on your charges, so lower priority than usual. Cobra Shot if you can't kill command or Barb Shot. But the main thing is just like generate a bunch of Black Arrow procs with your kill commands, and that's it. On AoE, you get so many Black Arrows that just using Black Arrow every time you get a proc will take care of a lot of your Beast Cleave uptime, but after that, of course, we will still need to multi-shot to make sure that we have Beast Cleave up for all of our kill commands and so on. So, yeah, pretty exciting times ahead. To be completely honest with you guys, I fully expect BM Dark Ranger to get nerfed in the coming weeks, maybe after this video, I don't know, because I don't think they quite intended to buff it this much for pure single target. I think it ended in a reasonable place for Mythic Plus. I think If they wanted it to be the main plane with the class, I think it would need a little bit more work. But in single target or raiding, it's now absurdly strong. And especially like if you have a spec that high rolls and does this much on average, I mean, it's going to be a little bit ridiculous in the coming weeks. And but yeah, I mean, enjoy it while it lasts for however long it does. And thank you so much for watching. If you like the sort of stuff that I do here, maybe check out my Patreon or Twitch, where you can sub for access to my Hunter UI, weak hours, personal Hunter coaching, and much more. I'll see you boys and girls next time. Bye-bye.